Hello everyone and welcome to my channel. My name is Charlene and today I'm going to be talking about classic authors that so far have been a one and done. Before I go into what this video is going to be about, I first want to thank all of you who voted in my poll. I thought this would be a really fun way to get you guys involved, and it really helped me narrow down the genre for this video. But it was a really close vote. I was planning to look at the results the morning before I filmed this video, so I would have plenty of time to plan it out. And at the time, Classics was winning by 3%. However, by the time I got done outlining and was going to bed last night, Classics and Sci-Fi Fantasy were actually tied. And since I don't want anyone to feel left out, I am planning to do another video like this again, and I will be using the poll results to determine the next genre. So hold tight, sci-fi fantasy fans, I will be getting to you. In this video, however, I'm going to be listing off some classic authors. And each of these authors, I have only read one of their books to completion. I may have read the book in the last year, I may have read it several years ago, but I've only read one book by the author. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to tell you the author and the name of the book that I read and what I liked and didn't like about the book. And then this is where the fun part comes in for you guys. I have a list of 10 different authors. And when you're done watching this video, what I want you guys to do is to vote on one of these authors that you would like to see me read another book by. You can also, if you have a specific book in mind, list the book with the author in your comment down below. On June 1st, I will be going through and looking for which author got the most votes via either comments or likes on those comments. And of the works by that author, I will be going off of which one also got the most votes. And I will have until the end of August to read that book. If, however, there are no specific books mentioned for an author, then I will get to pick any book by that author that I want to read. And if there is a tie, then I will be picking from among those authors or those specific works for what book I'm going to be reading. So this is one book in my summer TBR that you guys have complete control over. And I don't know if I should be comforted by that or terrified, but I guess we'll find out. One of the things I forgot to mention while I was recording this video is that all of the authors on this list, or at least almost all of the authors, were ones whose books I didn't love, unfortunately. I either thought the books were just okay, or I didn't care for the books that much at all. So without further ado, let's get into the list. The first author on this list is one that's probably going to get me in trouble with some people, but I guess we'll find out. And that is Charlotte Bronte. And you probably guessed the book because it's her most popular work. The one book I read by her was Jane Eyre. Honestly, until last year, I didn't even know she had written any other books for sure. And it turns out she actually published more books than her other sisters. Jane Eyre is very well loved by people who love it, but I also feel like it's a very polarizing book. And I, on the other hand, actually fell somewhere in the middle. I really enjoyed the part in the middle where she was working for Mr. Rochester up through when she moved in with another family early on in that part. There was something that happened between her and another character that at that point I didn't care for it, but I enjoyed it up until that point. And I didn't overly enjoy the part where she was at school at the very beginning. The ending itself, I'm still on the fence about. Part of me likes it, part of me doesn't, so I don't really know where I stand on that one. I would be interested in picking up another book by her though, so this is your first option. The second author is also likely to get me in trouble, and that is F. Scott Fitzgerald. And yeah, again, you probably guessed it, I read The Great Gatsby. I read this one in college for one of my literature classes, and at the time I thought it was okay. I finished the book and honestly didn't understand what all the hype was about, But in hindsight, I feel like I might have more of an appreciation for it now than I would have then. But I still haven't read any other books by him, and I know he's written several others. So, F. Scott Fitzgerald is option number 2. The next one feels slightly less controversial to be on this list, and that is Rudyard Kipling. And the one book I've read by him is The Jungle Books. Although I think I only read volume 1, because if I understand, there's 2 volumes, but I could be wrong on that. I know he has some other books out there, but I could not even begin to tell you what they are off the top of my head. I feel like if I heard the titles, I would recognize them, but they're not coming to me right now. As far as The Jungle Book, I liked it, but it's really a collection of short stories that just all take place in the jungle. And as far as I recall, there's nothing connecting the stories. I do think the one about Mowgli that the Disney animated movie was sort of based on was probably my favorite, but I also can't say I remember any of the other stories. So Rudyard Kipling is option number 3. The next author, I don't know how well known or well loved he is. I can't say I'm overly familiar with hearing people talk about him, but that is Sinclair Lewis, and the one book I read by him was Main Street. And this was the lowest rated book of all the books that are going to be on the list today. I gave this book 2 stars. I was interested in this book originally because the main character is from a bigger city, and then she marries a doctor from a small town, and she thinks living in a small town will be fun, it'll be different, it'll be an adventure, but then she moves there and she's not so happy with it. In her mind, the people are small-minded, mostly in that their whole focus is the town and not great works of literature or what's going on in the world and things like that. However, the reason I gave the book such a low rating is because it is very repetitive. The main character wants to change the town people, and she goes through this loop of, I want to change these people, I can't change them. I want to change them, I can't change them. It got old after the first 2 or 3 times, so unfortunately it got a low rating from me, but I don't know what other books he's written to know if I would enjoy them anymore. So Sinclair Lewis is option number 4. The next author I also feel like is at least fairly well known. I don't know how well the particular book I read by him is, but I feel like he's fairly well known, and that is Forster. And the book I read by him was Howard's End. I will admit, part of the reason I didn't enjoy this book is because when I read the premise, I thought the story was going to go one way and it went a slightly different direction. And I liked the way I thought it was going to go better than the way it actually did go. But I would still be interested in trying another book by him, maybe one I don't feel misled on. So Forster is option number 5. The next author is one I also read in college, and that is Kate Chopin, and the book I read by her was The Awakening. This one, again, I thought was just okay. Basically, we have a female main character who wants to find herself, be her true self, but that always in books tends to involve her either having something in her life completely separate from her husband and almost the 2 of them living 2 different lives even though they're in the same house, or divorcing her husband. This one is the former from what I recall, although if that changed at the end of the book, I don't remember at this point. But that seems to be a common theme in a lot of books that were written more from a feminist perspective, and I'm not the biggest fan of that. I don't know if her other books have the same type of theme, but I would be willing to try out another one of her books and see if I like it any better. So, Kate Chopin is option number 6. I almost didn't even list this next author because I wasn't sure how many other works he had, but apparently he actually has quite a few by the looks of it. And that is Bram Stoker. Bram Stoker. I've heard both, and I'm not sure which is correct. But of course, the one book I've read by him is Dracula, his most well-known work. I don't know what it was about Dracula, but I wasn't overly a fan of this one. The story was interesting, but the writing was very dry. And it's epistolary, which normally works well for me, but this book did not for some reason. I don't know if any of his other books would work any better for me, especially if they're more narrative form, not epistolary, but I'd be willing to give it a try and see. So, Bram Stoker is option number 7. I really debated on including this next one because the one book I read by him, I don't even remember anything about it. And that author is John Steinbeck. Now, I did not read one of his most popular works. Compared to a lot of these other authors, the book I read by him was The Red Pony, and I read this one as an assigned reading in 7th grade English. And I remember nothing about it. I could not tell you a character name. I could not tell you any specific scene. I can't tell you anything. So, honestly, technically speaking, you could vote on this book and I could read it again because I don't remember it, but I feel like the idea of this video is to vote for other books by the author. I know he has some chunkers that are fairly popular, and yes, you could throw a chunker at me. He has Grapes of Wrath and he has East of Eden. I know he also has some shorter books like Of Mice and Men, so you have a variety of books to choose from. So, John Steinbeck is option number 8. All right, we're getting close. Number 9 is one that I just read last year, and that is Honore de Balzac. And I have no idea of his works which are considered his most famous, so I don't know if I read one of his most popular books or not. But the one I read by him was Lost Illusions. At the time that I finished this book, I felt just okay about it. It's divided into 3 parts. Parts 1 and 3, in my opinion, were kind of boring to read, and I was not a fan of the ending. Mostly the writer's ending. Part 2 I loved. Part 2 kind of made up for the rest of the book. However, having some distance from the book, I've come to appreciate the ending more than I did at the time. And I still think it's a really good story, even if parts of it were harder to read. And I don't know how much of that has to do with Honore de Balzac's writing style and how much of that has to do with the translation, because this was originally written in French. So I would be willing to try one of his other books, but he has a lot. I want to say his human comedy, which this is part of, is something like 90 some books, I think. I don't know. There's a lot. So you have plenty of options with him. So, Honore de Balzac, option number 9. And last but not least, we have J.M. Barrie. And yes, of course, the one book I read by him is Peter Pan. I know this was originally a play, but I read the book. I know he has other books about Peter Pan, and I feel like I've heard from at least 1 or 2 people that they're not as good as the original story, so I haven't had an interest in picking them up. But I think he's written a few things that are not Peter Pan, but I could be wrong about that. I don't know. However, I did really enjoy Peter Pan. So if you think it's worth picking up another Peter Pan book, or if there's another book by him you think I should read, feel free to vote for him. So J.M. Barrie is option number 10. All right, we made it all the way through the list. I will run through the authors again just in case you need a refresher. I feel like this video isn't actually as long as I thought it would be, so maybe you don't, but I'm going to list them anyway. So, first option was Charlotte Bronte, and I read Jane Eyre. Option number 2 is F. Scott Fitzgerald, and I've already read The Great Gatsby. Number 3 is Rudyard Kipling, and I've read The Jungle Books. Number 4 is Sinclair Lewis, and I read Main Street. Number 5 is E.M. Forster, and I read... What book did I read? Howard's End. Oh my goodness. Number 6 is Kate Chopin, and I read The Awakening. Number 7 is Bram Stoker, whichever it is, and I read Dracula. Number 8 is John Steinbeck, and I read The Red Pony. Number 9 is Honore de Balzac, and I read Lost Illusions. And number 10 is J.M. Barrie, and I read Peter Pan. So once again, how this works is you can choose one of these authors from the list and vote on them down below in the comments. If you have a particular book in mind, please also list that work with the author's name in your comment. If you see an author listed or a particular work listed that you think I should read, feel free to like that comment. On June 1st, I will be going through the comments and seeing which author got the most votes and which of their works got the most votes, and then that author and that work are the one that I will have to read by the end of August. I will most likely share the results in a shorts video because I won't know the results until after my June TBR is out, and I don't want to delay it until my July TBR. I think you guys would like to have the results sooner than that. So that is all I have for today. Thank you again for everyone who voted. This helped me out a lot to narrow down what was the best genre to do for this first video. As I said earlier, I would like to do this again in the future, and I think I'm probably going to do once per season. I would say once per quarter, but it lines up better with the seasons than the normal yearly quarters, so we're going to say once per season. So I would probably do another one of these videos again in August. So those of you who are hoping for sci-fi fantasy will get to vote on one of those authors. And then I'll probably do one of these videos every 3 months, and then I will have the 3 following months to read a book by the author that you guys choose. I hope you all enjoyed this video. Please leave your votes down in the comments below. Don't forget to like the ones that you think I should read that someone else has already voted on as well. Feel free to like this video and also subscribe so you can see the results in June. And I hope you all are having a wonderful day, and I'll see you later.